please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Good evening, you're watching CNBC TV18 and this is After the Bell. Let's take a look at the top headlines that we are tracking at this hour. 714 Indians are revealed to have used secret offshore accounts in what is the biggest data leak from two law firms in Bermuda and Singapore. India is 18th among 180 countries with most names in the investigation called Paradise Papers. Member of Donald Trump's inner circle and U.S. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross is revealed to have business ties with Russians close to Vladimir Putin. Kremlin is also allegedly behind a Russian billionaire's investments into Facebook and Twitter. It's a flat Monday on the Lal Street. Private banks dragged the banking index while auto and IT stocks showed resilience. ONGC and Oil India gain in trade on higher crude prices. Yes Bank might continue scaling down its staff strength after giving pink slips to 2,500 workers earlier this year. The bank now reduces notice period to 1 month from 3 earlier. That's an exclusive.
India has done very well for a cricket-loving nation to hit a century.
World Bank Chief Kristalina Georgieva says India is in a sweet spot for them as reforms continue, says construction permits and contract enforcement require more attention, and adds that it will start releasing the $1.5 billion commitment to Swachh Bharat in the next few months. Saudi Prince Mohammed bin Salman begins what he calls an open brand of Islam, detains 17 princes and top officials including billionaire Al-Walid bin Talal in a 5-star hotel in Riyadh. Dozens of hardline clerics also arrested. And also on the show is the first story of a new series on black money. A CNBC TV18 investigation finds that 1 year after demonetization, parking your black money is still a cakewalk in the gold market of Mumbai. A special report up ahead. First, the top story this evening. 714 Indians have been revealed to have avoided paying taxes by using offshore accounts in what is being dubbed as the world's biggest data leak. The International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, in association with 96 new organizations around the world, have revealed secret offshore accounts of the global elite after an 18-month-long investigation. The leak is called Paradise Papers. A total of over 13 million documents leaked from two law firms, Appleby in Bermuda and Asia City in Singapore. The documents show how these two companies help the global elite and corporations, including Indians, to move their money abroad and avoid taxes. We must also point out here that what most of these people and companies did is not illegal per se. Tax avoidance using legal structures that currently exist is legal and it does not amount to tax evasion. However, this investigation proves how the rich use offshore accounts and tax havens to move millions and billions abroad by exploiting legal loopholes to avoid paying legitimate taxes in their country. As I mentioned, there are 714 Indians in that list revealed to have held or operated offshore accounts at some point or the other. India ranks 19th among 180 countries in terms of number of names coming in, according to the newspaper Indian Express. Interestingly, the Sun Group, founded by Nandlal Khemka, figures as Applebee's second largest client internationally, with as many as 118 different offshore entities. Now, there's also clear evidence that money in offshore accounts does breed corruption. Firms linked to the Sun TV SL Maxis case, the SR Loop 2G case, the Rajasthan ambulance scam, the SNC Laveen case in Kerala all find a mention in the Paradise Papers. And it's not just that. Some very big names in India have been revealed to have used at some point these offshore accounts, and they include Minister of State for Aviation Jayant Sinha, BJP's Rajya Sabha MP R.K. Sinha, film star Amitabh Bachchan, Manyata Dutt, wife of actor Sanjay Dutt, and corporate lobbyist Neera Radia. There are also some very prominent Indian corporations in the list of companies that have used offshore accounts reportedly, dealing between United Spirits and Diageo, the GMR Group, Jindal Stainless Steel, Apollo Tyres, Havells, Hindujas, MRMGF, Videocon and the Hiranandani Group. Now, India's Income Tax Department has taken note of the Paradise Papers data leak. Tax Department sources say that key officials have been alerted to examine these revelations. Timsy Japuria has exclusive details. Timsy, what is the taxman doing about this investigation?
All DG investigations of the Income Tax Department have been alerted, and they've been asked to actively start investigating the details that have been put out today by the Indian Express. Several names that have been named by these Paradise Paper leaks are already under the income tax scanner, and the information that has been put out will now be added to the existing investigations that is going on. Apart from this, the new names that have come today will now be looked at actively, and the investigations department has alerted that these new names should now be investigated under the various provision of the Income Tax Act and the Black Money Act, and soon there has to be a detailed representation that needs to be put out to the top officials of the Finance Ministry on this. We'll keep you posted.
Okay, Timsy, thanks for that. So that's what the taxman is doing about that investigation. But it's not just India. The Paradise Papers, as we pointed out, are sending shockwaves across the globe. The biggest revelations is one that puts US President Donald Trump in a tough spot. His Commerce Secretary, Wilbur Ross, is revealed to have ties to Russian billionaires who are known allies of Vladimir Putin. Now, the papers show that Ross has investments in a shipping company, and a major client of this company is a Russian energy major. Speaking exclusively to CNBC a short while ago, Ross clarified that he is not obligated to disclose these investments, and also denied having any contact with Russians named in the Paradise Papers.
My obligation is to disclose companies in which I'm an officer, a director, or an investor. I am neither an officer, nor a director, nor an investor in CBOR. In fact, I've never met them, don't know the people, have nothing to do with the negotiation of the charter arrangement. The only commercial arrangement between Navigator and CBOR is a charter arrangement. That charter arrangement was made when CBOR was not under sanctions, and frankly, CBOR is not under sanctions to this very day. So in fact, there's nothing wrong with Navigator having a commercial relationship with CBOR.
Okay, that's Wilbur Ross speaking to CNBC a short while ago in an exclusive interview. We'll get you a longer excerpt of that interview through the day, but for now, let's take a quick break. Up next.
Has done very well for a cricket-loving nation to hit a century.
World Bank Chief Kristalina Georgieva says India is in a sweet spot for them as reforms continue. That exclusive chat on the other side. A sideways day of trade as indices closed little changed as compared to Friday's close. The Nifty ended flat after seeing some wild swings in today's trade. Sensex ended mildly in the green. Amongst the broader markets, the mid-caps also closed with a gain of about 0.1%. The Bank Nifty, however, fell about 0.3% at the back of major indices like ICICI Bank and SBI seeing some pressure. Now, here's an exclusive interview. For a cricket-loving nation to hit a century is fantastic. That's what World Bank CEO Kristalina Georgieva had to say about India's mega leap in the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business report. In an exclusive conversation with CNBC TV18 Shireen Bhan, Georgieva, who was in India and met Prime Minister Modi over the weekend, also added that going ahead, India will have to do more to improve its ranking, given the fact that the higher you go, the more difficult the climb to the top becomes. Here's an excerpt of that conversation.
It was a very constructive, forward-looking conversation. I'm extremely pleased to see a commitment for reforms to continue. India has done very well for a cricket-loving nation to hit a century. Yes. It's fantastic. And the question is now that India has gone up, how it can continue to improve, knowing that the higher you go, the more difficult the climb to the top becomes. What I heard from the Prime Minister is strong endorsement of the agencies working together so improvements can continue, and a very critical commitment to use feedback so decisions taken are informed by the users of these decisions.
Well, you know, the index is based on stakeholder feedback. The ambition now is to break into the top 50. So was there a conversation on what India needs to specifically focus on? Some of the areas of disappointment has been areas like the enforcement of contracts, construction permits, etc. Was that a conversation that you had with the Prime Minister on what should be the path that India should follow to break into the top 50?
In fact, it went even further than that. We have prepared an analysis of where India is today and what is next. And I was able to submit to the Prime Minister this analysis. What should be the areas of focus? As you said, in construction permits, there is space to go. Enforcement of contracts is another area where there is space to go. But also where already progress has been made, India cannot stay still.
Sure.
Why? Because the index is based on competition across 190 economies.
Here's the other big international story of the day, and this is on to Saudi Arabia, which is in focus for a number of reasons. On Saturday, Saudi King Salman created an anti-corruption committee. That night, the committee arrested 11 princes, including billionaire investor Prince Al-Walid bin Talal and 4 other ministers, including one in charge of the National Guard. Now, this is seen as an attempt by the Crown Prince to consolidate power. Saudi Arabia also suffered a missile attack allegedly fired by Yemen's Houthi rebels with the help of Iran. Hadley Gamble joins in now with a wrap of the latest. Hadley, how is the situation now?
At the end of the day, you have to look at what's been happening, not just over the last couple of days in here, but in Riyadh, but in the broader political context as well. I mean, let's think about it. We don't only have this purge of members of the royal family, government ministers, the big business here in Saudi Arabia. Those are people, of course, that the Crown Prince has said, you know, no one's above the law when it comes to corruption. We not only have this power play happening in Saudi Arabia, but there is the bigger and broader picture of the fact that you had a ballistic missile that was taken down just outside of Riyadh, outside of the Riyadh airport, as well as the potential for more destabilization in a country like Lebanon. We see ISIS being taken care of in Syria, and that situation may inevitably begin to calm down. But already we're seeing signs that the possibility that this government could take on Hezbollah, for example, in Lebanon, could lead to further regional instability. So I think that there may be some bigger questions at hand about the foreign policy elements of the things that we've seen over the last weekend or so. But it's interesting to note that here inside Saudi Arabia, there's a lot of disquiet among the business community in the sense that they're quite worried about where this kind of a crackdown could lead to next, if that's going to be a big problem in attracting companies that we saw in the last week coming here for this major investment conference, whether or not that will scare people off in terms of foreign direct investment. People on the ground generally telling me, most of course of these people under the age of 25, half this population is under the age of 25. And of course they consider Mohammed bin Salman to be something of a rock star, given what we've seen from him in terms of the social, economic and political reforms that he's managed to enact over the last 2 years. They're telling me that this is really a good thing in terms of the optics. And of course this also plays into the optics more broadly when we talk about the Aramco IPO.
Okay, fair enough. Hadley, thanks for joining in with that. Saudi Aramco's IPO is something that will be watched for, of course, across the globe. But the other international story of the day, at least 26 people lost their lives in a church shooting incident in Texas. A lone gunman, now identified as 26-year-old David Kelly, opened fire at the First Baptist Church. He was later found dead in his vehicle following a car chase. The motive of the attacks is still unclear. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump, who is currently on a tour of Japan, expressed his grief. He did, however, add that the shooting incident was not a gun control issue, but a mental health problem in America. On that somber note, let's end this bulletin of After the Bell. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good evening. Stay tuned, though. CNBC TV18 Markets Today Talk Back is up next.